How's it going, guys? D Black Tay here, back like we never left, bringing you guys another Samurai 8 review. And today we're going to be talking about chapter 43. But before we get into that, I just want to say, yo, we are streaming tonight. I am excited. We're going to get into these last couple chapters. We're going to have a little group discussion going on tonight, so it'd be dope if you guys pull up. That's going to be fun. I've had a long past few weeks with school and work and stuff, so I'm just happy to be back, happy to be talking about this GOAT greatness. And I just wanted to say that I'm thinking about starting Guardian of the Witch reviews. Go read that if you haven't. It has a very interesting premise and it has a very interesting story, so go check that out if you get the time. But let's talk about Samurai 8, since that's why we're here. We're here to talk about this Kishimoto greatness. We're here to talk about how great Kishimoto is and how great Samurai 8 is, because guys, this is a fantastic story. Like, you guys don't even understand. From week to week, even reading last week was just a phenomenal chapter with Nanashi and stuff. I know I didn't get into that, but this week we're all focused on what went down with Hachimaru. So last week's chapter, although I didn't get into it, we got Hachimaru discorporating, which means that he basically goes and he turns into a locker ball. And we get that after he meets Nanashi. Nanashi comes through. I love me some Nanashi. I am a Nanashi fanboy. If you know me, you know we rock with Nanashi out here. Nanashi is goated. Nobody fucks with Nanashi like I fuck with Nanashi. I love me some Nanashi. But we also found out he had a clandestine style holder. We're going to get into that later on. When we get into the manga. So this chapter starts when we do the live stream tonight. So anyways, this chapter starts off with the cubes assembling, right? And so the brothers, they're in their consciousness and they realize, wait a minute, the cubes aren't assembling to fill our power. The cubes are assembling. This is Hachimaru assembling the cubes, right? So Hachimaru is basically taking control of the whole operation, and then we see him awaken into this space. But before that, we also get this little moment where Nanashi, they're standing over Hachimaru's locker ball, and they're saying, wait, this sensation, what is this feeling, right? And so we awaken, it's Hachimaru, and he is in front of the god Fudo Miyo, right? And so in this chapter, we get this really dope panel, and I'm going to get into it in a second. But we get this dope panel. It's Hachimaru. He has the same kind of like figure as Fudo Miyo, right? But in his eyes, right, he has the Mandala's box, and in his other eye, he has the Pandora's box. And on his forehead, he has the yin and yang symbol, which basically is like the symbol of, balance, basically. And I had this whole thought process when I was reading this chapter and going through it, right? Where it's like, okay, we've been focused on this whole perception thing, right? We've been focused on this whole, it's not just about you, it's about the circumstances, it's about what other people view you as, because you can view any situation in any way, right? So being able to see the good and the bad, the possibility to destroy, to create, the physical and the spiritual, these are essentially the balance of what makes the Samurai universe and the world, right? So this balance, so Hachimaru right now is in a state of perfect enlightenment and in a state of perfect balance, to the point where he is now meeting with Fudo Miyo, and Fudo Miyo says, a perfected incarnate body leaves the flesh behind to become nothing but a spiritual being. So basically, he left his physical body behind to become more spiritual, H particles, right? So Fudo Miyo says the amalgamation of all information the individual possesses, that is the spiritual body. And so he says to discorporate is not to die. In its original sense, it means to complete one's incarnate body. So this means once you discorporate from the locker ball, you lose your physical body, you turn into pure H particles, right? And so it says to become a mass of information, in other words, to become Fudo Miyo. Then you mean, and then Hachi says, then I'm really Furo Mio, right? And so Furo Mio says that a spiritual being is made of H particle. H particles is everything in the world. It basically gives samurai their ability to regenerate, reattach their limbs, regrow their limbs, reattach, um, make their key holders, make their samurai weapons, make these attacks that we saw as the Atmos Fang, the silent cut, being able to control the slash and the techniques and stuff. So basically, your spiritual body is H particles, right? And so it says that it harbors the memories, thoughts, premonitions, and calling of the person connected to the universe and becoming a piece of that network. So basically, what Fudomyo is saying right now is that when you discorporate, you turn into H particles, and H particles, it basically, it contains all of you, all of your being, essentially. And he sorry. And he says that, oh, I don't have the coronavirus, by the way, guys. I just have allergies. Don't hate me. But anyways, so this, when you turn to H particles and you turn into, you basically go back into the universe. You combine with the universe's H particles that are out in the world. But what Fudomyo is saying is that the individual is not supposed to die. The individual is supposed to retain all this information and be able to go as a spiritual body, as we've seen from the incarnate bodies with the samurai soul. So I'm assuming the samurai soul is the H particles. It's supposed to form as the spirit. The samurai soul is your spirit, and that's what I'm getting from this, right? Because when you use the samurai soul, you can form incarnate bodies, and it has your information, your techniques, your your identity, and everything like that. So it's been a while since I've done a pretty long review, so this might be a little long one, guys. You might get a 20 burner out of me this week. And so he basically says that right now, Hachimaru, that you too have become part of that information aggregation. So basically what Fudomyo is saying is right now that all the H particles that he put out into the world and that form into people and their memories and their thought processes and what they go through and their techniques and their lives and stuff, when they die, it all goes back to Fudomyo. It all goes back into the universe. It goes to Fudomyo, right? And he uses that to gather information about the world and what's going on and stuff like that. And so I think that's a fantastic concept, and I think Kishimoto is putting it in a way that is very easy to understand and is explainable, and this is just a phenomenal chapter. Let's just keep going, right? There's so much exposition, and we also get fight and action stuff later on, but let's get through this exposition because this exposition is fantastic. So Fudomyo additionally says, but most who discorporate believe that they have died and their unconsciousness vanishes. Very few realize that they've separated from their physical flesh and passed to a higher plane. So this is what I was saying, that when samurai tend to die, they think that, oh, I'm dying, but in reality, you're reaching a higher state. You're reaching your spiritual state. But those that don't have the H particle training, that don't fully understand what it means to be a samurai, what H particles are, what the spiritual body is, they believe that they die, right? And so once you reach the state of enlightenment, the mind's eye and stuff like that, you're able to process things, and that's where I think Ichigo's abilities might come from, right? So if Fudomyo exists at all points in time, right? If Fudomyo exists at all points in time, that specifically means that these H particles, they're able to transport past, present, and future information out there into the world. So when Ichigo saw her planet being destroyed with the mind's eye in the future, when Daruma saw the future, he was seeing that planet's future information through the H particles that go out into the world. So basically when when Ichigo is using her mind's eye to see the future, she is reading the information that is coming from the future from the H particles when that planet gets destroyed and goes into the environment. That's why Fudo is able to exist now, and he's able to exist in the past and the present. And this makes so much sense, and I'm glad I hope I was really able to explain that. I'm gonna do a video on that later. I got so much time, guys. I'm so happy. I got so much time on my hands. I get to put out content. I'm so happy. But I'm gonna do a video on this so I can explain it in more deeper detail. I just want to go through this chapter, but Fudo is basically saying right now that, but you reached enlightenment before you discorporated, so you can understand this whole process. And Hachimaru basically explains to Fudo how he reached this point in his enlightenment, and he says, it's probably not anything so fancy as enlightenment. My friend Nanashi helped me realize something when Nanashi was saying that, oh, you're Fudo to me, Hachimaru. And Hachimaru says, Anne's brother might have died, but his desire, his drive, his will to live on to protect Anne. And he says that it showed up as Nanashi's 7 desires, right? His friend Nanashi. And save me, the guy with the same calling as her brother. So, if we go back to this whole principle of that H particles are one's existence, it's one's body, it's one's memories. These H particles, they are still in the in the environment, in the world, all their memories, their will to drive. And so, although they're in a technical sense dead, their will and their H particles can kind of push things into place. And that's my understanding. Let me know what you guys think down below on that, but that is my understanding so far. And he said that this all came together to save Anne. Anne's brother, who's been dead for however many years, has helped put something into place so that Anne can be alive. This is the spiritual energy, the H particles that are in the world, right? And so this is a very, very, very interesting concept. I'm really enjoying this, right? So Hachimaru says, I could feel it. Her brother's supposedly dead, but his will still lives on. And, he just goes back to the flashback where he's like, him and Anne were talking, and and Anne's basically telling him, like, like, I thought my brother came back to me through you, right? So there's that, right? And so there's all that connection. And he says that, and Anne felt it too. And he says that that's how I was able to visualize that losing my body didn't mean dying. That everything I am is still connected to someone else and won't go away. And then Fudo says, then you have completed the process at last. You have a great role to play in what lies ahead. And he says, go, make everyone's dreams come true. In my place, you are now connected to everything, and your possibilities are as infinite as the galaxy. And this basically is saying that when you reach this plane of existence, this H particle plane, right, you reach a different level of understanding. You're now connected to everything that is going on and everything that is involved in the world and the universe, right? And so Hachimaru is basically connected to everything, right? And so this is dope. So now we're gonna start speeding through, because this when the chapter really starts to pick up, right? And so and I really like how the 8 is focused on in this chapter when Fudo is talked about, are as that his potential is as infinite as the cosmos, because we're gonna get into that a little bit later, and it's pretty interesting. So the brothers are like, yo, what are these stats? Are these my stats? And then Hachimaru's like, no, these are my stats. These are our stats. So he takes over all the brothers. He jumps in. He realizes that Ata has Anne captured in a chokehold and whatnot. He goes in, and he has control of all the brothers at this point in time, right? So he goes in, he cuts Ata's hand off of Anne's throat, and then all the brothers charge in. They attack all Ata, they all stab him through the body with their samurai souls, and I think they all have white samurai souls to complement, Hachimaru and whatnot. So basically, he's pushing Ata a little bit. He's pushing Ata a little bit. It's not like a great thing to where like we believe that like Ata's like struggling or anything, but he's giving him a little bit of a little challenge, and so I really like that. So it's not like overwhelming to the point where it's like, oh, where did Hachimaru get this bump from? But it's like Hachimaru is literally doing everything in his potential at this point in time, that he knows what he can do to save Anne and try to get out of there, basically, because he's not beating Ata. There's no way in hell he's beating Ata right now. So let's keep going, right? And Ata basically is like, oh, you took over their body, and he's like, oh, it means we're all Hachimaru, right? And so he looks at Ata's, like, he gets this like little head thing, and this is where I think Hala is now communicating with him. Kala is communicating with him. He's saying they may all look like Hachimaru, but their true nature is that of Furo Miyo. And he says, Master Kala, and he says, abandon the plan, use my samurai sword that I cut off and gave to you. So and then Ata's mouth opens. This is this black samurai soul, all black. This is the first one that we've seen that it's just like this all black corrupted samurai soul. So it's interesting. He pulls it out, does this whirlwind attack / cuts all of the Hachimaru clones up. They all turn into locker balls. But the thing is, apparently each sector, so there's the ball sector, the cube sector, and I'm assuming there's a triangle sector from when we got in the first chapter. I'm assuming each sector has their own specific type of locker ball, because when these guys discorporate, they turn into square locker balls, right? And so basically Ata says in the cube sector they don't have locker balls, they're cubes instead. Does that mean they've discorporated? And Ata says, I hold Master Kala's black blade. It forcibly discorporates whatever it touches, and you will be next. So Kala's black blade is basically like Sorokin on steroids. It goes way past regeneration. It just fucking destroys you. That's insane. That is insane. Oh my god, this chapter was so good. So I think we're starting to get to the end point. And so Hachimaru's like, oh man, that's brutal. No time to find enlightenment. And that means that basically, like, once they discorporated, their H particles just went back into the flow of the universe, basically. So basically, since they weren't able to find enlightenment, they won't be able to achieve their spiritual body and stuff like that. So that's pretty interesting. I really like that incorporation with Hachimaru. And then Ata, he's trying to connect with his holder, and he says Ryuki's not listening to me. So that must mean Ryuki must be fighting like against Daruma and Hanaichi, or like someone's fighting his holder, right? Someone's fighting his holder for it not to be responding to him. So he says, basically, he looks at the key and he says something's happened, it seems. And Ata sends a slash at Anne, and they start clashing. Hachimaru, he has this pure white samurai soul, is shining, you can see it glistening. And then Ata, he has his dark corrupted Kala's black blade, and he's going in. They're clashing, they're exchanging blows, and then somehow Hachimaru, I believe he read the H particles and the silent slash attack, and he jumps in. He stops Ata from cutting and it's like a giant slash. This slash is really huge, and so this blade, remember, if it cuts you, you automatically discorporate. So but remember, Hachimaru won't die, right? So he says, I see. And so Anne starts crying, and Hachimaru's having a thought process to himself, because he's in this state of enlightenment. He's like, Anne would give a guy like me strength and be truly concerned for me, and at some point I fell in love. And so Anne, he says, I know that I said I would protect you, I would die to protect you. And she says, yes. and he says maybe Anne was just seeing her brother in me, but thinking on it now, even that was enough to make me happy. Even knowing who I am, will you still believe in me and pray for me? And she says, it's fine. And she says, which way do you mean that? And she grins, and he says, thank you. Got it. I'll give it a try. And so he says, my love for Anne might exist because of the love she still feels for her brother, and the promise I made with Dad before his death, in which case, with every last bit of that connected power, he says, no, not try, I'll do it. I will protect you. And so Hachimaru's stat at the end for heroism is now infinite. It's just one stat. It's just heroism. And the heroism stat is just the power and the love between him and Anne has reached such a boiling point to where they're connected. Not only is Hachimaru in this state of complete enlightenment, but Anne is also having an intense moment, and so they're really connecting at this point in time. So I can't wait to see what next chapter holds. Out of the locker ball, the cube locker ball, comes like these things, these spirals, these connectors looking things that connect Hachimaru to Anne and her brother and his dad and everything like that. They remind me of Fudomio. He has those little connectors extending out of him. So next chapter is going to be hype. I can't wait. I believe after next week, Kishimoto is gonna go on a little break. But we're gonna get a fight chapter next week. I'm hype. Enlighten Hachimaru with a heroism stat of 8. I can't wait to see where that goes. And Ata with his black blade that automatically discorporates you, but discorporation doesn't work anymore. So this is going to be interesting. I'm hyped. Nanashi's on the background. Remember, later tonight we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna talk about Samurai 8. Let me know what you guys thought of this fantastic chapter. Like the video, make sure you guys comment, make sure you guys subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys tonight. Peace.